Imagine diving into the ocean for one last adventure, only to find yourself trapped with a deadly shark, or rushing to save a swimmer, only to become the hunted. In these gripping stories, routine moments twist into life-or-death battles. From a diver's tragic final plunge to a lifeguard's heroic rescue with fatal consequences, and a dream vacation spiraling into terror, each tale exposes the raw, unforgiving power of the ocean's top predators. Join us as we explore 6 jaw-dropping shark encounters that will leave you breathless. On the morning of August 12, 2024, veteran diver Mike Harris prepared for what was meant to be his final dive off the coast of Fiji. At 62 years old, Mike had spent over 4 decades exploring the depths of the Pacific Ocean. Known for his extensive underwater adventures, he had dived into some of the most remote and challenging locations worldwide. Over the years, Mike had faced strong currents, dangerous marine life, and deep caves, but his love for the ocean remained undiminished. This retirement dive was intended to be a special farewell, focusing on a hidden underwater cave system that had intrigued him for years. The waters around Fiji were known for their vibrant coral reefs and clear visibility, making it a perfect spot for diving. Mike, equipped with his high-definition camera and advanced diving gear, entered the water excitedly. The blue sea enveloped him as he descended, the sunlight filtering through the surface and illuminating the colorful corals below. He felt a deep sense of peace, knowing this dive marked both an end and a new beginning in his life. The underwater cave system, located near Becca Lagoon, was considered one of the most beautiful and mysterious in the area. As Mike swam closer, the entrance to the cave loomed ahead, dark and inviting. He adjusted his camera, eager to capture the unique coral formations and marine life that thrived in the hidden depths. The cave was narrow, with jagged rocks lining its walls, creating a challenging environment for divers. As Mike focused on filming, he remained unaware of the danger approaching. A massive tiger shark, drawn by the movements and vibrations, had followed him into the cave. Tiger sharks are known for their stealth and curiosity, often exploring unusual locations in search of prey. The predator moved silently through the water, its large body easily navigating the narrow space. Suddenly, Mike felt a powerful impact from behind. The shark's attack was swift and brutal, tearing through his dive suit with sharp teeth. Mike was caught off guard, his body thrown forward by the force. The narrow cave offered no room to escape, trapping him in the confined space. Panic set in as he tried to fend off the predator, but the rocks limited his movements, making maneuvering nearly impossible. The shark continued its assault, each strike more forceful than the last. Mike's oxygen tank was damaged in the struggle, and he found himself running out of air. His efforts to defend himself were desperate, but the predator was relentless. The cave, once a place of wonder, had become a deadly trap. With no way out, Mike's strength faded, his vision blurring as the attack persisted. The tranquil waters of Fiji's coast remained undisturbed on the surface, hiding the horror unfolding below. Days later, rescue divers searching for Mike discovered his body still entangled among the rocks, a chilling reminder of the ocean's unpredictable nature. The discovery of Mike's body sent shockwaves through the diving community. News of his death spread rapidly, bringing a mix of sadness and disbelief. Mike was widely respected for his experience and skill, making the sudden tragedy even harder to comprehend. The tranquil waters of Fiji, once a symbol of his adventurous spirit, had become the site of his last dive. Rescue divers carefully retrieved Mike's body from the narrow cave, untangling him from the jagged rocks. It was a somber operation, as each diver understood the risks that had led to this heartbreaking outcome. The signs of the shark attack were evident, with tears in Mike's dive suit and bite marks visible. His oxygen tank, badly damaged, was also recovered, adding to the grim scene. Back on the surface, the rescue team transported Mike's remains to shore, where medical examiners awaited. They confirmed the details of the attack, noting the severe injuries caused by the tiger shark. Mike's family, who had been waiting for news, was informed of his passing. The reality was devastating, especially since this was meant to be a celebratory dive marking the end of his long career. Mike's colleagues and friends gathered to honor his memory, reflecting on his impact as a diver and mentor. Many remembered how he had inspired others to respect the ocean's power while pursuing its beauty. Mike's life had been one of exploration, filled with stories of the deep and a passion for marine conservation. His death, while tragic, was a stark reminder of the dangers even experienced divers face. In the following weeks, the story of Mike's final dive became a cautionary tale. Fellow divers shared his story to remember him and emphasize the importance of preparation and awareness. The cave where the attack occurred was marked as a warning for future divers, highlighting the risks of venturing into tight spaces with limited visibility. The local diving community worked to improve safety measures, hoping to prevent similar tragedies. Despite the sadness, Mike's legacy as a veteran diver lived on. His contributions to ocean exploration and marine safety were recognized globally, with many divers dedicating their dives to his memory. He had inspired countless people to appreciate the ocean, not just for its beauty, but for its unpredictable nature. Mike's death had brought a sense of humility, reminding everyone of the fine line between adventure and danger in the deep. His family chose to hold a memorial service by the sea, a fitting tribute to a man who had spent most of his life in the water. The event was filled with tears and stories of Mike's remarkable adventures, capturing the essence of a life defined by the sea. His diving gear, worn and familiar, was displayed as a symbol of his passion. As time passed, the site of Mike's last dive remained a point of reflection for many divers. It was where a seasoned explorer had met an untimely end, serving as a reminder of the risks of exploring the unknown depths. While ending tragically, Mike's story inspired caution and respect among those who ventured into the ocean's depths. The sea had claimed one of its own but had not taken away his shared lessons. His legacy as a diver, mentor, and lover of the ocean remained strong, carried on by those who followed in his fins. On the morning of July 15, 2024, Ben Parker stood watch on the sandy shores of Hunting Island, South Carolina. At 38 years old, Ben was a seasoned lifeguard with over 15 years of experience. Known for his bravery and quick thinking, he had rescued dozens of swimmers from dangerous currents over the years. He was well respected among locals and tourists, always ready to put himself at risk to save others. This day was quiet, with only a few people spread out along the remote beach. The waves were rough, stirred up by a recent storm. Ben scanned the water constantly, his eyes sharp for any signs of trouble. Suddenly, he spotted a swimmer struggling in the rip current about 200 yards offshore. Distressed, the man waved his arms as the powerful current pulled him further out to sea. Ben's instincts kicked in immediately. He grabbed his rescue board and dashed into the water, his strong strokes cutting through the waves as he raced to reach the man. The current was strong, making it a tough swim, but Ben pressed on. As he reached the swimmer, he quickly secured him, positioning the rescue board under the man to help keep him afloat. The swimmer was panicked, gasping for air and clutching tightly to the board. Ben spoke calmly, urging him to hold on as he towed him back to shore. As they started to progress, a dark shape emerged beneath them. It was a bull shark, drawn by the commotion in the water. The shark's movements were fast and aggressive, its dorsal fin cutting through the waves. Before Ben could react, the shark lunged, sinking its teeth into his right leg. The pain was immediate and intense, but Ben refused to let go of the rescue board. He kicked at the shark with his free leg, trying to fend it off while keeping the swimmer afloat. The struggle was brutal, with blood quickly clouding the water around them. Ben gritted his teeth against the pain, focusing only on getting the swimmer to safety. He swung his arms powerfully, trying to outswim the shark. The predator remained close, circling them and attempting to attack again. Each time, Ben kicked back, using his strength to protect himself and the swimmer. As they neared the shore, Ben's body began to weaken from the blood loss. He continued to paddle, pushing through the pain with sheer willpower. Now closer to safety, the swimmer managed to grab the shallow sandbar, pulling himself up onto the beach. Ben, however, was barely able to stand, his leg badly injured and bleeding heavily. With one final effort, Ben collapsed onto the sand, exhausted and pale. The swimmer, now safe, yelled for help, drawing the attention of beachgoers and other lifeguards. Ben lay on the shore, his heroic rescue complete, but his life now hanging in the balance. The attack had taken a severe toll, setting the stage for a desperate race against time. Ben lay on the sand, his breathing shallow and his legs still bleeding heavily. The other lifeguards rushed over with first aid kits to stop the blood flow and stabilize him. They wrapped a tourniquet around his injured leg, applying pressure to slow the bleeding. The swimmer he had saved stood nearby, shaken but safe, watching Ben struggle to stay conscious. An ambulance arrived quickly and paramedics moved Ben onto a stretcher. His body was weak from blood loss, and his skin was pale under the morning sun. The medical team worked rapidly, giving him oxygen and fluids to stabilize him for the urgent ride to the hospital. As the ambulance raced along the coastal road, Ben remained in critical condition. The paramedics continued to provide care, but the severity of the shark's bite had taken a heavy toll. At the hospital, doctors immediately took Ben into surgery. The damage to his leg was extensive, with deep wounds and torn muscles from the shark's powerful bite. The medical team did everything they could to repair the injuries and stop the bleeding. But Ben's body had endured too much trauma. Despite their efforts, his condition continued to worsen. Hours later, Ben succumbed to his injuries, leaving behind a legacy of bravery and selflessness. The news of his death spread quickly through the local community, bringing both sadness and admiration. People remembered Ben as a hero who had saved many lives over the years, always putting others' safety before his own. His final rescue had been a testament to his dedication and courage, a story of sacrifice that deeply moved everyone who heard it. The swimmer Ben had saved was filled with both gratitude and sorrow. He knew that Ben had risked everything to save his life. The memory of the attack haunted him, but it also reminded him of the lifeguard's bravery. Ben's actions had given the man a second chance, even at the cost of his own life. The local beach community honored Ben with a memorial service held at the very spot where he had made his last rescue. The beach remained open, but signs warned visitors about sharks in the area, a reminder of the dangers that lurked beneath the waves. Inspired by Ben's actions and the risks he had faced, the lifeguards received additional training on dealing with shark encounters. His story became part of the local lore, shared among beachgoers and lifeguards as an example of true heroism. Ben's family struggled with the loss, but they found comfort in knowing that he had died doing what he loved, saving lives. They established a foundation in his name to support lifeguard training and shark awareness, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The foundation became a support source for new and experienced lifeguards, keeping Ben's spirit alive. In the following months, the story of Ben's last rescue inspired many to become lifeguards, drawn by the example of his bravery. His name was added to a memorial plaque dedicated to fallen lifeguards, a lasting tribute to his life of service. Though Ben was no longer there to watch over the beach, his legacy continued to protect others, reminding everyone of his ultimate sacrifice for someone else's safety. On the morning of June 10, 2024, Sarah Mitchell set off for a dream vacation in the Caribbean, excited for the adventures ahead. At 29, Sarah was always drawn to the sea, loving its beauty and mystery. She had saved up for this trip for years, looking forward to exploring the turquoise waters, sandy beaches, and vibrant marine life. One activity on her list was parasailing, something she had never tried but had always wanted to experience. That day, Sarah boarded a parasailing boat near Grace Bay in the Turks and Caicos Islands. The crew strapped her into a bright harness and soon she was soaring above the water. The view from above was breathtaking, with the clear blue sea stretching out in all directions and the white sandy beaches lining the shore. Sarah felt excited as the wind whipped through her hair, her body suspended high above the water. It was everything she had imagined. As she floated above the sea, Sarah had no idea that danger was lurking. The parasailing boat maintained a steady pace, but a sudden gust of wind changed everything. The wind caught the parachute awkwardly, forcing the crew to make an emergency descent. The sudden drop startled Sarah, who felt fear as she descended rapidly toward the sea. She braced for impact, unsure of what awaited her below. Sarah splashed down hard into the water, disoriented by the impact. She struggled to keep her head above the surface, her harness tangled in the parachute lines. The parasailing crew moved quickly, trying to bring the boat closer to pull her back aboard. However, the commotion had attracted a reef shark that was swimming nearby. Reef sharks, known for their curiosity, often investigate sudden splashes in the water, The shark instantly lunged at Sarah, its powerful body thrashing as it clamped onto her leg. The pain was sharp and immediate, causing Sarah to cry out as the shark bit down. She tried to kick at the predator, but the attack was sudden and overwhelming. The water churned violently as the shark attempted to drag her further down, its teeth tearing through her skin. Blood clouded the water, adding to the chaos. The parasailing crew acted swiftly, throwing a rescue rope towards Sarah while shouting for her to hold on. Her leg throbbed with pain as she grabbed the rope, using every ounce of strength to keep her head above water. The crew pulled her closer to the boat, and 2 crew members leaned over to grab her arms, hauling her aboard. Sarah's leg was badly injured, with deep gashes and heavy bleeding visible. Once safely on the boat, Sarah lay on the deck, gasping for air and clutching her injured leg. The attack had been fast and brutal, turning her dream vacation into a terrifying ordeal. The crew quickly applied pressure to the wound to slow the bleeding as the boat raced back to shore for urgent medical help. Sarah lay on the boat deck, her body shaking from the shock and pain of the attack. The crew continued to apply pressure to her bleeding leg as they sped back to the marina. Her leg had deep gashes, with torn muscles and visible bite marks from the shark's powerful jaws. The crew tried to keep her calm, but Sarah's mind was filled with the horrifying memory of the shark's sudden strike. Once they reached the shore, an ambulance was waiting. Paramedics quickly lifted Sarah onto a stretcher, working to stabilize her before transporting her to the nearby medical center in Providencial. Her leg was wrapped tightly, and an oxygen mask was placed over her face to help her breathe steadily. Sarah was in intense pain, but she managed to stay conscious during the ride, her thoughts racing with both fear and disbelief. At the hospital, doctors acted swiftly, rushing Sarah into the emergency room. The medical team assessed the extent of the injuries, noting the severe damage to her leg muscles and tissue. The shark's bite had been deep, causing significant blood loss. Doctors worked urgently to clean the wounds, stitch the torn flesh, and prevent infection. After hours of surgery, they managed to save Sarah's leg, but her recovery would be long and challenging. As Sarah regained consciousness after the operation, the reality of the attack began to set in. She was alive, but her dream vacation had taken a tragic turn. The pain was overwhelming, and the memories of the shark's sudden attack replayed in her mind, making her feel both fear and anger. The ocean, which had always been a source of joy for her, now felt like a place of danger. News of the shark attack spread quickly throughout the island. Many were shocked by the incident, as shark attacks were rare in the area. Tourists and locals alike expressed concern, but they also admired Sarah's courage in surviving such a violent encounter. The story reached the media, becoming a cautionary tale about the unpredictability of the sea. Sarah's recovery at the hospital was slow and difficult. Physical therapy sessions became a regular part of her routine, helping her regain movement in her injured leg. The therapy was painful, but Sarah remained determined to walk again without assistance. The scars on her leg were a constant reminder of the attack, both physically and emotionally. Despite the trauma, Sarah wanted to use her story to raise awareness about the potential dangers of ocean activities. She began speaking about the importance of safety measures, emphasizing the importance of being prepared for unexpected events while enjoying the water. Her message was clear. The sea was beautiful but unpredictable, deserving respect and caution. As the weeks passed, Sarah gradually regained some of her confidence. She even visited the shore again, though she stayed on the sand, hesitant to go near the water. The experience had changed her, but not completely broken her spirit. While her dream vacation had turned into a nightmare, she remained grateful for the quick actions of the crew and the medical team that had saved her life. Sarah eventually returned home, her leg still healing, but her determination strong. The attack had left scars, but it had also given her a new perspective on life in the ocean. She focused on recovery and resilience, understanding that the sea, while dangerous, was still a vital part of the world she loved. On May 22, 2024, Lucas Thompson set out from the small coastal town of Kaikoura, New Zealand. A seasoned fisherman, Lucas, 47, was well known among the locals for his skill and knowledge of the sea. He had spent most of his life on the water, fishing along the South Island's rugged coastline. His boat, the Sea Rover, was small but sturdy, built for navigating shallow waters and the deeper seas offshore. Lucas loved the solitude of the ocean and the thrill of hauling in a good catch. The day started calm, with the water gently rippling under a clear sky. Lucas anchored his boat a few miles offshore, baited his line, and cast it into the deep blue sea. Hours passed, and Lucas pulled in a steady stream of fish, filling his buckets with the day's catch. As the sun reached its peak, he noticed his line suddenly grow tight, much heavier than usual. He began to reel it in, feeling the weight strain against the rod. As Lucas struggled to pull up the line, the boat jerked violently to one side. Confused, he tightened his grip, trying to maintain balance. Looking over the side, Lucas was stunned to see a massive great white shark thrashing in the water. Its powerful jaws clamped onto the catch at the end of his line. The shark's presence sent a surge of fear through Lucas, but he tried to stay calm, hoping it would release the catch and swim away. The shark, however, had other plans. It continued to yank at the line, dangerously rocking the small boat. Suddenly, the predator lunged toward the ship's side, its body crashing against the hull with tremendous force. The impact tipped the vessel sharply, throwing Lucas into the cold water. Disoriented, he struggled to keep his head above the surface, but the shark was already closing in. Lucas tried to swim back to the boat, his heart racing as he splashed desperately. The great white, faster and more powerful, circled him rapidly before lunging again. This time it pulled Lucas under the water, its jaws clamping around his leg. The water churned violently as Lucas kicked and fought, trying to escape the predator's grip. Blood clouded the water, signaling the deadly struggle below the surface. Despite his efforts, Lucas was overpowered by the shark's strength. The waves calmed, leaving the empty boat to drift aimlessly, its torn nets swaying in the current. The hull bore a deep bite mark, evidence of the terrifying encounter. Hours later, a passing fishing vessel spotted the Sea Rover floating without its captain. Rescuers approached cautiously, finding only the signs of the struggle: ripped nets, scattered equipment, and the eerie silence of an abandoned boat. The sea, which had been both friend and foe to Lucas for years, had claimed another life. The calm waters of Kaikoura now held a darker story, one of nature's unpredictable and untamed power. The discovery of the Sea Rover floating empty sent shockwaves through the local fishing community. News of Lucas's disappearance spread quickly across Kaikoura, bringing a mix of fear and sorrow. Lucas was a familiar face in the town, known for his friendly nature and stories of the sea. The news that he had gone missing, likely due to a shark attack, left many in disbelief. Fishermen who had worked alongside Lucas gathered at the harbor, exchanging worried glances and sharing what they knew of the incident. Rescue teams were dispatched immediately, searching the waters near where the Sea Rover had been found. Boats, divers, and helicopters scoured the area, hoping to locate Lucas or find clues about his fate. The search was intense, covering the surface and deeper waters where the attack likely occurred. Each passing hour felt heavier, as the hope of finding Lucas alive faded. The search was called off days later with no sign of Lucas found. The only evidence of what had happened was the empty boat with its torn nets and the bite mark on its hull. The vast and unpredictable sea had kept its hold on Lucas, adding a sense of finality to the tragedy. While saddened by the outcome, local authorities emphasized the ocean's dangers and the presence of sharks in the region. They urged fishermen to exercise caution, especially when operating alone in deeper waters. Devastated by the loss, Lucas's family held a memorial service in Kaikoura. The event drew a large crowd, with many attending to pay their respects to a man who had spent his life on the ocean. His wife and children stood near the shore, gazing out at the same sea that Lucas had loved. A wreath was released into the waves, a symbol of farewell to a devoted fisherman taken too soon. The service was both a tribute and a reminder of the risks that came with life by the sea. The incident left a lasting impact on the local fishing community. Many fishermen who had always respected the ocean's power became more cautious in the following days. The story of Lucas's last fishing trip became a cautionary tale shared among both experienced and new fishermen. Safety measures were reinforced, with some choosing to travel in pairs or bring additional equipment to avoid similar incidents. Despite the tragedy, Lucas's legacy as a skilled and passionate fisherman remained strong. Those who had known him spoke of his dedication and love for the sea, They remembered his tales of big catches, laughter, and advice about navigating the waters. While the circumstances of his death were grim, Lucas was remembered for his adventurous spirit and unwavering connection to the ocean. In the following weeks, the empty sea rover was returned to the harbor, repaired and docked as a silent memorial to Lucas. The bite mark on the hull remained visible, a haunting reminder of the encounter that had ended his life. The boat, once a symbol of Lucas's passion, now stood as a testament to the unpredictability of the sea. Life in Kaikoura slowly returned to normal, but Lucas's memory lingered. His name became part of the town's stories, expressed with sadness and respect. The sea, which had been Lucas's home for so long, ultimately claimed him. Yet his legacy as a fisherman inspired others to cherish and respect the ocean's wild beauty. On the calm morning of September 3, 2024, Beth Carson paddled her kayak along the waters off the coast of Monterey, California. At 34, Beth was an avid kayaker who loved exploring the ocean's quiet beauty. She had spent years paddling along California's coastline, often seeking solitude in the early morning. Her bright red kayak was her favorite companion, providing peace as she navigated calm bays and choppy waves. Beth set out that day from Cannery Row, aiming to enjoy the stillness of the sea before the area became crowded with tourists. The water was clear, reflecting the rising sun, and the air was crisp with a hint of salt. Beth paddled steadily, moving further from shore, feeling the familiar rhythm of the waves beneath her. As she ventured into deeper waters, she felt completely at ease, unaware of the danger lurking below. Without warning, Beth's kayak jolted violently. Confused, she gripped the paddle tighter, trying to maintain balance. The sudden impact came from below, and she looked down to see a massive shape moving beneath the surface. A great white shark had struck the kayak, mistaking its silhouette for potential prey. The force of the collision tilted the kayak sharply, throwing Beth into the cold water. Beth surfaced quickly, gasping for air as she clung to the overturned kayak. The water around her felt colder now, filled with urgency and fear. The shark circled back, its dark shape visible just below the surface. Beth was alone in the open sea with her kayak damaged and no nearby help. She tried to steady herself, keeping one arm hooked over the kayak's side while frantically scanning the water. Suddenly, the shark attacked again, biting into the side of the kayak near where Beth clung. The force was brutal, causing the kayak to shift and dragging Beth down with it. She felt a powerful pull on her leg, and the pain was immediate. The shark had latched onto her, its sharp teeth tearing through her wetsuit. Beth kicked desperately, trying to free herself from the predator's grip. The water churned violently as the struggle continued. Beth's efforts to break free weakened, her strength fading as the shark pulled her under the waves. Bubbles rose to the surface, marking the spot where Beth had disappeared. The mangled and partly submerged kayak drifted aimlessly as the sea regained its calm, hiding the chaos below. Nearby boaters, alerted by the splashing and distant cries, raced toward the scene. They searched the area, scanning the water for any sign of Beth. The overturned kayak floated in the distance, its bright red color contrasting with the blue sea. Despite their efforts, the rescuers found no trace of Beth. The waters, once peaceful, now felt heavy with loss. Hours later, the tide carried the damaged kayak to shore. Its side bore deep bite marks, clear evidence of the great white's attack. Beth's paddle, broken in half, washed up nearby, adding to the scene of tragedy. The serene morning had ended in terror, leaving only questions and a haunting sense of absence. The sight of Beth's mangled kayak on the shore brought a wave of shock and sadness to the local community. News of the incident spread quickly across Monterey, leaving residents and fellow kayakers in disbelief. The empty kayak, marked by deep bite marks and floating debris, painted a grim picture of Beth's final moments. Beth, a familiar face in the local waters, was now missing, and the sea had claimed her without a trace. Rescue teams immediately searched the surrounding waters by boat, helicopter, and divers. The search was thorough, but the hope of finding Beth alive was slim. The vast and unpredictable ocean hid any signs of what had happened beneath its surface. Despite the relentless efforts of the rescue team, no further clues or remains were found. The only evidence left was the kayak, its broken paddle, and the ominous scars from the great white shark's attack. As the search continued over the following days, locals gathered at the shore, some holding flowers and others lighting candles as a tribute to Beth. Her friends described her as adventurous and passionate about the sea, who always found peace in the ocean's embrace. The sudden and violent attack had turned her love for the water into a heartbreaking loss. It was a reminder of how quickly nature could shift from beautiful to dangerous. Beth's family, devastated by the news, struggled with the reality of her disappearance. They knew the risks she faced as an avid kayaker, but the attack was still shocking. Her father, who had introduced Beth to kayaking as a child, found it difficult to accept that the ocean had taken her. The family honored her memory with a memorial service at Cannery Row, where Beth had launched many of her adventures. The memorial was solemn, with many attending to pay their respects. People shared stories of Beth's love for the ocean, remembering her as a brave and kind person who had always found joy in the waves. The ceremony ended with the release of flower wreaths into the sea, symbolizing farewell and remembrance. Local authorities warned about shark activity along the coast after the attack. Signs were put up to caution kayakers and swimmers, urging them to stay vigilant and avoid deeper waters where sharks were more likely to be present. Beth's tragic death brought renewed awareness about the risks of marine life interactions, particularly for solo kayakers who ventured far from shore. The kayaking community, deeply affected by Beth's death, began taking additional safety measures. Many paddle in groups, bringing safety gear like whistles, flares, and shark deterrents. Beth's story became a reminder of the ocean's unpredictable nature, shared among experienced and new kayakers as a lesson in caution and respect for the sea. Beth's disappearance remained a painful chapter for Monterey. Her name was added to a memorial for those lost at sea, ensuring that her story would not be forgotten. The ocean, once her sanctuary, was now a place of memory and loss for those who had known her. Despite the tragedy, Beth's adventurous spirit inspired others to explore the ocean, though with a greater awareness of its untamed power. On the morning of October 5, 2024, Mark Stevens prepared for one of the world's most challenging open-water swimming competitions, held off the coast of Durban, South Africa. At 28 years old, Mark was an elite swimmer known for his strength and endurance. He had trained for years to compete in such events, often pushing himself to the limits in pool and ocean training. Mark's dedication had earned him a place among the top competitors, and this race, spanning shark-infested waters, was meant to be a defining moment in his career. The race began under clear skies, with the waters of the Indian Ocean appearing deceptively calm. Swimmers lined up at the start, eager to tackle the grueling course. Safety boats, equipped with lifeguards and medical teams, flanked the competitors, prepared for any emergency. Wearing a bright blue swim cap, Mark dived into the water with powerful strokes, quickly establishing a steady pace. He felt confident, maintaining his position among the leading swimmers as they headed deeper into open water. Halfway through the race, the swimmers were spread out across the course, each focused on maintaining speed while conserving energy. As Mark reached the middle of the pack, he noticed a large, dark shape moving below him. The water around him seemed to shift subtly, an eerie sign that something was lurking beneath the surface. Mark's instincts told him that it was more than just a wave shadow, but before he could signal for help, a massive, great white shark breached directly beneath him. The attack was sudden and brutal. The shark's powerful jaws clamped down on Mark's leg, dragging him downward with incredible force. The pain was immediate, sharp, and overwhelming. Mark's body twisted violently as he tried to escape the predator's grip, but the shark's hold was unrelenting. The water churned around him, turning red as the struggle continued. Mark's screams pierced the air, finally catching the attention of nearby swimmers and safety personnel. The spectators on the shore were initially unaware of what was happening, as the distance made it difficult to see the details of the attack. The safety boats, however, reacted quickly, speeding toward the source of the commotion. Lifeguards threw flotation devices into the water, hoping to reach Mark in time. Despite the rescue team's rapid response, the shark's powerful movements pulled Mark deeper into the water. His resistance efforts grew weaker, his strength fading with each passing second. Realizing the danger, the other swimmers began to move away from the area, fear evident as they continued toward the finish line. Within moments, Mark disappeared below the surface, leaving only ripples and blood in the water as evidence of the horrifying attack. The safety crew reached the spot where he had last been seen, but there was no sign of Mark. The great white had taken him into the depths with its massive body and powerful jaws. The sudden and violent disappearance left the safety team searching the water in vain, their eyes scanning the ocean for any trace of the missing swimmer. The race, meant to celebrate human endurance, had turned into a scene of tragedy, witnessed by hundreds of spectators and participants. Mark's abrupt disappearance sent shockwaves through the event, bringing the competition to a halt. The race immediately stopped as the gravity of the situation set in. Organizers and safety crews focused on finding Mark, launching a full-scale search in the waters off Durban's coast. Rescue boats, divers, and helicopters scoured the area, their efforts intensified by the urgency of the attack. The ocean, filled with the energy of competition moments before, now felt heavy with fear and uncertainty. The crowd on shore watched silently, many struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Spectators, family members, and fellow swimmers stood in shock, their cheers replaced by a deep sense of dread. Mark's family, who had traveled to watch him compete, were overwhelmed with grief, unable to process how a day that began with excitement had turned into a nightmare. Despite the efforts of the rescue teams, no trace of Mark was found. The ocean, vast and unpredictable, had swallowed him without a trace. The search continued day and night, but the waters remained silent. Authorities eventually made the painful decision to call off the search, marking the end of a devastating day for the swimming community and the residents. The loss of an elite athlete in such a sudden and violent manner left a lasting impact. In the days that followed, news of the attack spread worldwide. The open-water swimming community, known for its spirit of endurance and courage, was shaken by the incident. Mark's story became a symbol of both the risks and realities of ocean sports. While swimmers were aware of the potential dangers of the sea, few had anticipated an attack of this nature during a well-organized event. The incident led to intense discussions about safety protocols and the need for improved measures to protect athletes in shark-infested waters. A memorial service was held in Durban to honor Mark's life and legacy. The ceremony drew a large crowd, with many swimming community members traveling to pay their respects. Mark was remembered as a skilled athlete and a dedicated and passionate individual who had inspired others with his commitment to the sport. His family, though heartbroken, spoke of his love for the ocean and his determination to push boundaries. The tragic event changed how open water races were conducted along the South African coast. Organizers increased the number of safety boats and deployed advanced shark detection equipment to prevent similar incidents. The focus shifted to finding a balance between preserving the spirit of competition and ensuring the safety of participants. Mark's story catalyzed change, highlighting the need for caution and respect when venturing into unpredictable waters. Mark's disappearance remained a haunting memory for those who had witnessed it. His name was added to a memorial dedicated to swimmers lost at sea, ensuring his legacy would not be forgotten. The ocean, which had challenged and taken him, was now a place of admiration and caution for the open-water swimming community. The sport continued with greater awareness and respect for the sea's unpredictable nature. Inspired by Mark's bravery, swimmers remained determined to pursue their passion, knowing that every stroke in the ocean carried both risk and reward. His story, though tragic, served as a reminder of the courage it took to compete in the open sea and the deep respect needed for its untamed power.